What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today we are going to learn a cycle pattern that will help build your chops and learn your key signatures. What is a cycle pattern? A cycle pattern is a pattern that is based on the circle of fifths, which is also known as the circle of fourths. It just depends on which direction you're going. It is the circle of fifths when you are thinking sharps and you're going clockwise, so that'd be C, G, D, A, E. That would be called the circle of fifths because the interval is based on a fifth. C to G is a 5, G to D is a 5, D to A is a 5, so on and so forth. If you go the opposite direction, it's the circle of fourths because the interval is a fourth. So if we go from C to F, that's a fourth. F to B flat is a fourth. B flat to E flat is the fourth, so on and so forth. So a good way to think about it is when you're going the sharp direction, it's a circle of fifths. When you're going the flat direction, it is a circle of fourths. Today, we're going to think of it as the circle of fourths because the pattern that we are going to learn is based on the interval of a fourth. Because it is a cycle pattern, it doesn't matter where you start because you're going to be going through all 12 keys. So once we learn the pattern, we're going to start it off in a pretty easy key. But once we learn the pattern, I'll give you some ideas on how you should practice it depending on what your playing level is. If you're intermediate, we're going to start on one set of notes. If you're more advanced, we're going to do something else. And once you get it down really good, I'll give you some ideas on how to get it going faster and cleaner and better. Okay, the pattern. It's super simple. We are going to talk about it in scale degrees instead of in notes because we're going to transpose this into every key. So it's going to make it way easier if you're thinking the scale degree as opposed to notes. But we are going to start in the key of D. So the pattern is 1, 2, 3, 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, so your 1 in the key of D is obviously D. Your 2 in the key of D is E. Your 3 in the key of D is F sharp. Your 5 in the key of D is A. So the pattern would sound like this. Again. So that's D, E, F sharp, A. 1, 2, 3, 5. Now, I told you that the pattern is based on the interval of a fourth. So once you play 1, 2, 3, 5, then you go down to the fourth, which becomes the 1. So that might sound a little confusing, but we go 1, 2, 3, 5, which in the key of D is D, E, F sharp, A. Then we play the fourth, which is the note we skipped, which is G. Now G is 1. So then we restart the pattern in the key of G. So the 1 in the key of G would be G. The 2 would be A. The 3 would be B. And the 5 would be D. So if we put those two cycles together, the D and the G, it would sound like this. Starting on the D. Then switch to G. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, which becomes the 1, 2, 3, 5. And then another one, 4 becomes the 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 becomes the 1. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm going to play it a little bit faster this time. And that's your pattern. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 becomes the 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 becomes the 1. Take a listen to it in a few more keys. So we're going to go D, then G, and then C, and then F. So you play D, which is D, E, F sharp, A, G becomes the 1, G, A, B, D, C becomes the 1, C, D, E, G, F becomes the 1, F, G, A, C. So again, we're playing a 1, 2, 3, 5. We skip the 4 and land on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, and then that becomes the 1. And that's your cycle pattern. It's pretty easy, but it takes you through all the keys. So if you're struggling with any keys, this is a great way to work your way through them. And it's also a great way to build your chops. Once you get this thing down, keep speeding it up and speeding it up and speeding it up until you're just absolutely crushing it. Okay, so let's talk about a couple specific things to this cycle pattern. We're going to eventually run out of notes. Obviously, we're not going to go up into the altissimo like that. So the rule is you can drop the 4, which becomes the 1, down an octave or up an octave, however you want. So if you start on your low B flat, then you can drop. You can drop. So instead of continuing to go up through the scale, you can drop down an octave at any given time. Whenever you're starting to run out of notes, you can drop down. In the beginning, it might even be a good idea just to stay in the middle of your saxophone. Notice I just kept dropping down, so I stayed in the middle of my saxophone the whole time. You can also use this lick, this pattern cycle, to work your way through the range of the saxophone. Now, if you're an intermediate player and you might not even know all of your scales yet, you can do this cycle pattern on just the ones you know. So assuming you know 4 sharps and 4 flats, so that would be E, you can be up to your E scale on your sharp scales and up to A flat on your flat scales. You could start your cycle pattern on E and just go to A flat. So that's E. Your 4th is A, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is D, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is G, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is C, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is F, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is B flat, which becomes the 1. Your 4th is E flat, which becomes the 1. And your 4th is A flat, which becomes the 1, and we're going to stop on the E flat since we can't keep going. So, in time, that would sound like... Now, if you're advanced, the way I would suggest working on this pattern is starting on your low B flat and only dropping down when you need to. And instead of just doing it one time through, you can continue the pattern as long as you want. So maybe even try to keep it in the middle of your horn or jump up and down accordingly. Now, the chop building part. That means you can take this scale, that means you can take this pattern, and once you've got it down, really speed it up, really push your tempo. So on and so forth. Really get that time going, really get that tempo going, but clean and slower is better than fast and sloppy. So I'd rather be a little bit slower than this speed, and it'd be really choppy and really sloppy and not in time. So pick a tempo that you can play it at, and then keep bumping that tempo up a little bit, increasing it a little bit until you get really clean at the new tempo, and then bump it up again, and keep doing that until you're playing it blisteringly fast. If you'd like to dig deeper into patterns for chop development or any other aspect of the saxophone, I do give Skype lessons. My contact information is below. It has my website and my Instagram. You can just contact me through there, and I'll give you all the information about how Skype lessons work. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you're now working your way through your pattern cycles, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. If you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment below. Thanks again.